I got an idea. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch the tiger by his toe. If he hollers, let him go. My mother told me to pick the very best one. And you are it.
Well, crap. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Two Awesome Men.
And this is our spoiler-filled review over the Season 7 opening of The Walking Dead. And this video will contain spoilers.
Yeah, so you have been warned.
Spoilers, 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 and now we've said it 5 times.
Alright, guys, so this is the most anticipated episode in this entire series, and maybe even some recent shows.
The way it starts off is, if y'all have seen the sneak peek for Season 7, it's pretty much that whole clip. It starts off with, they didn't show the deaths, they just show Negan and Rick just having a face-to-face conversation after Negan killed whoever he killed. And it's sort of like, where are they going with this?
To be honest, I was watching, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I didn't really like the way they're starting out. I thought they weren't going to show the deaths at all. I didn't think they were going to show the killing. And I was like, people got mad whenever they left it a cliffhanger with the last episode of Season 6. I'm like, they're definitely going to get mad if you don't show the killing of one of the character.
But then it shows Negan dragging Rick into the RV. And they drive off, and pretty much this entire episode, which I found to be a beautiful episode, probably one of my favorites now. Pretty much the entire episode, Negan is breaking down Rick's mental stability. And the whole episode is really psychological, because here is Rick, who since Season 5 and Season 6, he's been built up to be this really arrogant leader who feels like he's this almighty leader who can control every situation. But now you have Negan, who has this really flamboyant personality, and he's a really evil, mean guy. And he's trying to break down and try to make Rick submit to him. And that's just what makes this whole episode beautiful.
Yeah, and to be honest, even before Season 5 and Season 6, even though he wasn't portrayed as trying to be arrogant, he has always been portrayed as a strong character, not taking anybody's crap. Right. He's always, like you said, he's never submitted to anybody, even before Seasons 5 and 6, he never submitted to anybody. Right. He realized, I'm the leader, I need to keep our group safe, and that's the character that he was. And it was just amazing to see this character that we've seen for 6 seasons. We've seen this character for 6 seasons not break down at all. We've seen him cry, but not much at all.
This episode showed him at his lowest point. I will say that this is his lowest point. You see him begging. Mm-hmm. You see him pretty much repeating what Negan is telling him to say. He's pretty much submitting his entire being to Negan, which has never been seen before on the show from Rick.
And he actually tells this group to submit to him as well. And it's just amazing to see. And now we're going to be at the deaths of this episode, which I was almost disappointed with, because whenever I saw the last episode of Season 6, I thought that it's either going to be Daryl or Glenn, because I thought those two would be the most impactful deaths of that episode.
Yeah, and also they built it up. They built this episode up to be like they're about to rid a huge character that we've known throughout the show, not just a character we've met at season 4, like Abraham. Even Andrew Lincoln, the guy who plays Rick, said that you shouldn't watch this episode alone. You should watch it with the loved one.
Mm-hmm.
So they built it up so big, and I felt like it wouldn't be someone, just a small character.
Yeah, and so the reason why I was upset was they started off, and you see that he's doing his eeny, meeny, miny, mo thing, Negan, and he goes up to Abraham, and he hits him on the top of the head with a bat, and he kills him. He starts just going at him, and he kills him. You have this feeling of relief in a ways, just because of your emotional attachment, but at the same time, more than that, I feel a lot of disappointment. And even you, I remember watching you like, oh, it's Abraham.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a huge disappointment.
No.
And then they came back around, and that was the most ridiculous thing. You have Daryl, he gets so emotionally riled up and goes up and punches Negan in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And Negan already warned them, nobody else jump out of line, especially punch him in the face probably. And then you think he's about to kill Daryl, and then he gets his bat, just goes around and hits Glenn right in the head, kills Glenn. And you hear Glenn's last words, which were,
"I will find you, Maggie."
Mm-hmm.
And this scene, from the comic books. If you look at the comic books and look at this episode, they really did it almost mirror image like, because even the makeup that they did for Glenn's face when it's all smashed in, it looked exactly like it did in the way they drew it in the comic books. It's pretty amazing how perfect they did it.
Mm-hmm. And this scene was just really well done, really well written. This entire episode, it really reminded me why I loved Walking Dead at first.
And the reason why I think Negan is a huge part coming into the show is not only because he's a huge character in the comics, but because with The Walking Dead, the TV show, I feel like it's sort of drug on since season 4-ish. And the reason why I always tell people why I believe that sort of drug on is because they don't have that recurring villain like Shane or the governor. They don't have that villain to be in the show consistently to cause problems in the group. So they haven't had that. So the show has gotten sort of boring in a way because they haven't had that villain.
Mm-hmm. And the one thing I really do believe about Walking Dead, one of my biggest complaints, is that they know that something big is about to happen. When they know that something big is about to happen, they feel like they have to drag out everything until that big thing. And the big thing was Negan.
Right, yeah,
and
exactly.
I've been waiting on Negan since season 1, whenever I got into the comics and stuff like that. And I've really been waiting on Negan. And after a while, I just stopped watching because I could not get into it to past a certain point. And I know you continue to watch it. It actually took me...
Yeah, it's hard at times, but yeah.
I couldn't... It was hard for me to continue. And then he told me about the last episode.
Yeah,
of season 6.
The season finale and of season 6 and season 7 opener are now my two of my favorite episodes of the entire show now.
Mm-hmm.
There's only like one other episode that I would put in the top episodes now.
Yeah, they are beautifully written, especially the premiere of season 7. It's probably my favorite episode of this entire series so far, and I was just amazingly written. It was amazingly acted too. I haven't really seen like this good of acting from the characters, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan perfectly casted.
Yeah, no. And I gained a whole lot of respect again for the writers of this show and even the actors, which I never lost the respect for the actors very much, but this episode, everything, I can't think of anything negative about this episode, to be honest.
So even though the deaths was probably one of the most intense parts of this entire series, a very intense part of this episode was the scene whenever Negan is trying to get Rick to cut off Carl's arm. And that right there is where you see Rick at his weakest.
In the entire show.
Yeah, the entire series. This scene is where you see Rick at his weakest. It is amazing. And it just takes so long.
Yeah, no,
but it's not like drug out boringly and ridiculously. It's drug out to an actual realistic extent.
Yeah, exactly.
Of his father obviously not wanting to chop his son's arm off. You know?
And Negan has his men aiming guns at the entire Rick's group.
Mm-hmm.
So he's saying, if you don't chop off Carl's arm, then we're gonna have my men kill all your group and Carl, and then you eventually. So it's gonna you are gonna die if you don't do this. So might as well just do it.
And so he raised up the axe, and then thankfully, after all the heart attacks that we've had, he actually does not chop off his son's arm. Negan trying to see if Rick would obey him.
Throughout this entire episode, just another spoiler alert for the comics if you haven't read the comics. Rick actually has his arm cut off in the comics by the governor, which throughout this entire episode, I felt like they were gonna have Negan chop Rick's arm off. And it really seemed like that a bunch of parts in this episode. There's so many foreshadowing with the axe and the machete and the hatchet. And I felt like it was going to happen, but it didn't. And I'm sure they're going to come back to it at some point in the show.
Now there's hatred in this group. Probably a lot of hatred towards Daryl. Because Daryl is the reason why Glenn is dead. And it's very sad to see. And then they take Daryl away. And you're like, why? Because they all leave. And when they leave, it's this moment that you're kind of waiting for throughout the entire episodes of what they are going to do as a group.
Yeah, especially the reason why this episode is so great is that, okay, Negan not only killed 2 people in their group, but they were the 2 of the strongest people in the group, Glenn and Abraham. Not only that, he takes Daryl from the group too. He doesn't kill him, but he takes him to join his group. So now literally Rick's group has no one to even try to fight back. So it's going to be interesting to see who they're going to, or what they're going to do.
But this episode, guys, was just beautifully written, amazingly acted, so good in like just so many ways. I honestly cannot think of an issue I have with this episode. There's other episodes I can tell you a lot of issues with, but this episode was just spot on.
Yeah,
perfect.
and if you ever gave up on The Walking Dead, if you're not watching The Walking Dead because you just gave up hope, or even if you, like him, or if you even haven't watched The Walking Dead at all, I would suggest watching it and watching this episode because it's beautiful.
And if you have to, watch a summary of all the seasons. Or if you stop watching it and you can't get yourself to watch those other seasons, watch a summary of them, read a summary of them, and watch this episode because this episode is worth it.
And watch the season 6 season finale because that's my favorite season finale of this entire show. So watch that one and then this episode.
Well, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of Two Awesome Men.
And don't forget, we do have social media accounts. We have a Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and they're all Two Awesome Men. The number 2, not the word, so make sure you type number 2.
And also, guys, let us know what you thought about this episode of The Walking Dead. I really enjoyed it, he really enjoyed it, and we'd love to see what y'all thought of it as well. So, thank you so much again, and you will see us later.
I still don't understand why. Why did you have to kill him?
Because they were pretty boring and monotone and not very animated.
That's still not a good reason.
Well, there is another reason. They said Indiana Jones and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was a good movie.
Well, I guess that's a good reason.